The Amazon River is 4,250 miles long, twice the length of the Mississippi. It is mostly wide and slow-moving, but up this distant tributary, it is quite the opposite. A fifth of all the water on Earth passes through the Amazon, and piranhas and their relatives are found in just about all of it. It's a fisherman's paradise. And it's full of river monsters.
And there's a fish on, there's a fish on. Oh, there it is, jumping out of the water. That's quite strong, that's a strong fish.
I've hooked a predatory fish with dental hardware straight out of a horror movie.
So this is a piranha, it's a relative of the piranha. It's an arms war down there, everything's got teeth, everything is eating everything else. And they've actually got those fangs there in the lower jaw, and they use those to puncture the swim bladder of the prey. So it just messes up the buoyancy. The small fish is then totally out of control. It's flopping around near the surface, and these will just come along afterwards and mop them up. And those fangs are that big that it has to have special holes in the upper jaw, otherwise it wouldn't be able to get its mouth closed. So there's probably some very precise engineering going on out of sight that we can't see.
This vampire-like creature shows how evil-looking the piranha family can get. But despite its looks, it is not the fish responsible for attacking people. This is a solitary fish hunter. The piranha we all fear feed in packs, and they are so common in the Amazon you can catch them almost anywhere. Normally I use high-tech gear and stealthy tactics to lure a monster onto my line. But the piranha's method of feeding is so bold that I'm changing my approach. I've dispensed with my normal rod, and I'm just using a bit of bamboo with a short length of line on the end. Tried and tested means of catching piranha. Just a hook on the end with a piece of wire so they don't chomp through the line. Lump of meat, and unlike other techniques where you're being quiet and stealthy, piranhas are actually attracted by noise and disturbance on the surface. Oh, there we go. Red belly piranha. In just a couple of minutes, I've caught a small piranha. But do not be deceived, it still has knife-like teeth that can easily remove a lump of flesh in a single bite. Multiply that by the 100 or so mouths in a hungry school of piranhas, and it's a death of 1,000 individual cuts. A protruding jawbone with large chomping muscles means that when the mouth is closed, the triangular teeth from both jaws lock together like a bear trap. They are perfectly adapted to slice off pieces of meat, fins or scales, literally taking apart their prey piece by piece. They predominantly hunt fish, but they will eat the meat of almost any animal that crosses their path. And in this river, with almost every cast, I'm catching a piranha. This river is just absolutely full of piranhas. They're just all over the place. Doesn't mean to say though that I can't do this. Surely swimming in a piranha-infested river is suicide. This water may be full of piranhas, but they're not attacking me. If I can swim here, and it's true that the old man from the fish market story and the victims of the bus crash were eaten alive, then something is missing that is needed to trigger a feeding frenzy. Still alive. There's plenty of water here. I'm guessing there's enough food for them down there without them wanting to attack me. If piranhas group together because of their mortal fear of another river monster, then this is a creature I need to meet.
What else could be down there that could be even fiercer, even more carnivorous than the flesh-eating piranha?
Piranhas may enjoy a reputation as evil killers, but here in the Amazon they are far from the top of the food chain. This river is a supremely predatory environment. And I'm told that there are wild river monsters that come here to be fed by locals. These creatures are highly adapted killers and greatly feared by the piranhas. And once again, I'm the guinea pig that is entering the water to meet them.
Dolphins. Who'd have thought it? 1,000 miles from the ocean, right up the Amazon River, freshwater dolphins. And these guys, I mean, they're having fun now, but my goodness, they've also got a dark side. I'm in the middle of a frenzy. That one got my thumb. That one got my thumb. Oh dear. Hey! And these are the guys that take out piranhas. A little bit eager. The jaw, very, very long and elongated, full of teeth, just perfect for grabbing fish. Wow! They've also got this really strange bulging head, and that's actually an echolocation organ. A lot of these waters in the Amazon are very murky, and they can't see their prey, but even in that situation, they can find and kill their prey. Oh! Using sonar. Oh. You know, you've got to be very, very careful tangling with these creatures. Time for me to get out, I think.
The Amazon is the most predator-filled waterway on the planet. Everything kills or is killed. I've spent years fishing this river, and I know it is crammed full of the meanest, nastiest creatures. Perhaps piranhas are not unusual. They just get singled out for attention because they capture our imagination. But that still doesn't explain what triggers their attacks.
It's strong and heavy. Look at this! Vai. Kuyu. A new species for me. I know the species, but I've never caught one. There's a lump taken out of it by piranha. They can tell when a fish is in distress and they go after it. You can actually see the shape here of a piranha jaw. Something chomped this fish on the way in. You know, normally these fish are paying complete attention to not ending up on the menu. This one basically thinking about something else for just a moment, and a piranha came in and chopped it. So you've literally got to watch your back.
This armoured catfish was a fantastic catch, but seeing the piranha bite on its back has crystallised everything for me. This fish lives in and amongst piranha every day of its life. Yet struggling on the end of my line, it instantly became a target. Let's see if the piranha reserve lives up to its name and what kind of piranhas they have here.
the line is flat on the surface. There it goes. Red belly. There we go. Whoop. Now, right, you can see why people, I couldn't do that if I didn't have shoes on. You can see why so many people here are missing bits out of their toes. Every one of these is a red belly. I mean, this one's got slight spots on it as well, but that just means it's a juvenile. Again, here we go. There's almost more fish than water. Every single chuck, out comes a red belly piranha. They're not very big, but my goodness, there are just loads of them down here. I've heard all these stories about piranhas being capable of skeletonizing bodies literally within moments or minutes. I've got this freshly killed duck here from the market, and I think it's time to put those stories to the test. It's apparent that the sound, the thrashing of a distressed animal is what attracts them, so I'm just a little bit of movement to start them homing in. Right, they're in there already. I just saw a flash of silver with that, very distinctive red as well. Right, they're starting to arrive now. Once one finds it, basically, that just kicks the whole thing off. Right, look at that, go in the head there. They've already just stripped all the flesh from the spine. Flip this in and have a look. Oh, right. From the back, this didn't look too bad, but actually flip it over the side where the fish were, and they've made a real mess of that. They've actually chewed through a huge expanse of feather to get at the meat, and they've gone right into the body cavity. They've taken most of the meat away. There's a huge section of actually the backbone gone in the neck. The head is just reduced to bone, both eyes are gone. And all this just in a matter of minutes.
It's easy to forget that this is right outside someone's front door. For the people who live here, dealing with the dangers of piranhas on a daily basis is just part of life.
This story of a canoe found floating, nobody in it, fisherman disappeared. The automatic assumption from everybody was that it was a caiman or an anaconda. Those are the obvious candidates. But I've been doing a bit of thinking, and I think another animal might have been involved. And what I think it might have been is one of these. Now, I mean, this is a real armour coat, this, and it looks as if it's a snake or some other reptile. But believe it or not, this is actually a fish, and this is a big fish.
This is the skin of an arapaima fish. And if its scales make you think of a dinosaur, that's because the arapaima is indeed a dinosaur of sorts. It has swum in these waters virtually unchanged since the Cretaceous period.
That is just a single scale from this animal. I mean, that is pretty impressive. But they go a lot bigger than that. And the reason I know that is that. Now, whatever that came off, that would have been a serious river monster.
Arapaima have been caught measuring up to 10 foot long, making them the largest freshwater fish in the world's largest river. But in recent years, they have been relentlessly overfished, and today they are so rare, it is forbidden to catch them in most areas. However, they are potentially found throughout the countless thousand miles of river that make up the Amazon basin. And I believe Arapaima may be responsible for killing some of those missing people. Salted arapaima used to be a meal enjoyed across the Amazon. But since a ban on commercial fishing, a few enterprising ribeirinhos, or river people, have started to farm them in pens like this to satisfy the demand for arapaima meat.
I've heard these arapaima in this enclosure here do something quite spectacular.
I've arrived just as they're preparing to fish one out for their own cooking pot.
Bom dia! Eu vou aí. Não. Tudo.
Aqui vamos tirar pedaço.
Eu sou Jeremy.
Seu nome é meu Alegria.
Alegria, eh?
Alegria.
Seu Alegria, which means happiness, is he's about to try and get an arapaima out of here. There's a few in here, and He says it's not an easy job, it can be a wee bit interesting. I'm going to ask him if maybe I can help. Tem que ficar de olho assim. There are 30 fish in here, and he says they're just jumping everywhere, and they are just, you know, you're just having to duck. You risk getting hit by the head, and this is about the size of a boxing ring. It's about having, you know, it's like having 30 people coming at you and just having to avoid them. Right, I'm going to have to just prepare myself a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, I just trod on a fish. Right, esse fundo todo canto, né? Eu vou para lá.
Vai levanta
De costa. Ah, this is this is a bit like a boxing ring. It's about the same size. There's 35 fish in here, nearly as big as I am.
Lá vai o arrastão, leva nessa posição.
Bom, melhor assim.
Vai levando para lá, vai levando para lá.
Okay.
Vai levando
Taking the
pra
net
lá.
up.
It's a simple matter of netting one. But this is exactly what I was doing when I took the full force of an arapaima headbutt to the chest. And I have been warned that these fish are particularly violent when cornered.
Frente,
De frente é melhor.
é?
Bota o pé direito no churro.
I'm walking forward, which means all the vulnerable bits of my body, you know, a boxer would be covering them up.
Tá beleza, tá beleza.
Okay,
tá
that's
beleza.
going well.
Vai começar a pular.
Right, they're going to start jumping any minute, he's saying. Any minute they're going to start jumping.
Opa, furou, Zé. Afrouxa, afrouxa.
Okay, we didn't get one. We're going to have to go through the whole thing again.
Knowing what's coming makes the second attempt even more daunting.
Ele tá com medo.
I'm afraid. Jeremy is afraid, he's saying. I think that is fairly clear to see. Ah, right, he's saying they might be a bit tired this time, so they might...
There's no doubt that when cornered or trapped by nets, the arapaima becomes a formidable force of nature. With the help of these arapaima farmers, I'm finally holding one of these incredible fish in my arms.
Look at that.
Ok!
My fear has been replaced with a new respect.
A boca do Zezão. Vamos levantar.
Vamos levantar, we're going to lift it up.
Maybe I'm now ready to face an arapaima on my own.
Muito bonito. Agora solta a cabeça.
Oh, now we're going to let the head go. We're going to let the head go. This is the... They wanted one to eat, that one was too big. They want to get a smaller one. I think I'm just going to leave them to it.
Ok?
Bon. Never ever seen anything like that before. All those fish absolutely clean out of the water. You know, I think that just has to be, you know, the evidence that I was looking for.
Just imagine the damage a fish could do that had the same solid bone head but was more than twice the weight. But Sr. Alegria also insists that they sneak through holes in the nets, displaying a curiously unfish-like cunning. Combine that with their sheer muscular power, and you can easily see how dangerous the arapaima becomes when cornered.
Goodness me, that is a fish and a half. Look at that. This is a beautiful caparari. Oh. Right, I'm actually very pleased to have this fish. It's not the arapaima I was after, but, you know, this is just, to my mind, such a lovely looking fish. I mean, the patterning on that is just wonderful.
This bizarre catfish is a strange monster of the deep. But it seems that the arapaima is an elusive giant that won't be caught easily.
There's some bubbles actually just coming up in the middle, more or less where my bait is, and that is very likely to be an arapaima down there on the bottom, grubbing around in the mud. It's very close to my bait. Something took it, but then let go. Oi. That's a fish on. Oh, that's a sizable old tambaki. Hey, strong fish. Oh, tambaki. Big old tambaki.
This tambaki is not the fish I'm after, but it's still quite a catch.
This is a relative of the piranha, but instead of having huge incisors, it's got these enormous grinding teeth on the jaw. The closest thing in nature to the teeth of a tambaki is the teeth of a horse. Normally, you know, this thing feeds on a diet of pure sort of Brazil nuts and other seeds. Very, very good flesh, very prized for its eating, but also really, really strong. One of the most powerful fish, pound for pound, that there is anywhere. Still lots of energy left in it. Good to see it go back. One thing that I learned from the tribes people, which is actually quite hard to do, but I've just got to be patient. Yes. Yeah. That's a fish, that's a good fish. Close up. You can see the fish.
As the battle with this arapaima approaches the half-hour mark, I'm reminded that the rebellious, proud spirit that inhabits this fish even refused to surrender to the gods.
Precisam alguém para pegar. Right, it's going to be out. There we go. Alikash, meu boss aqui. Oh, look at that, it came out so easily. Pegando.
Yes.
Okay, we're ready. There it is. Look at that for a fish. Look at that. Massive female arapaima, about 150 pounds.
I finally have the proof in my arms that huge arapaima are still out here.
This is a true dinosaur of the deep.
I need this fish to regain its strength after our battle before I release it. If I put it straight back, it might not have the energy to swim to the surface to take a breath. And being an air breather, it would drown.
Just the head a little bit under the water. And pointing up towards the bank so that if it does thrash, there's only one way it can go. In theory, which is not back into the water, although they can just double around 180 degrees. Even at the end of a long fight, I can still feel the strength of this fish. So I can absolutely imagine this thing being able to knock over. Oh, there we go. That's good. Look at boom. That was good. That was the fish just having a breath, which is excellent. It means the fish is not too tired out. But I mean, mainly this fish is just a bony head with a big cylinder of muscle behind it. And if this fish wasn't tired out, I don't think I'd be able to hold it. That's good. No, it's gone. We were just wondering if it had enough strength to go, and no doubt about it, I just couldn't hold it. And in fact, at the end of an epic battle on the line, but also an epic quest trying to find one of these things, but finally feeling the strength of it, absolutely, I'm in no doubt now that if you were in a small fishing canoe and that thing hit you underneath, I mean, it would easily upend the canoe, and then if you're in the water afterwards, and you got on the wrong side of that head, my goodness, that would absolutely take you out.
After travelling for 12 hours, I reach my destination, a river junction up a tributary of the Amazon.
As far as I can gather, this is the scene of the crime. And what's interesting is this is a very obvious meeting of the waters. You can see it so clearly because the two rivers that meet here are different colours. One is muddy white water, one is black water.
According to the locals, large catfish wait in ambush at river junctions like this to predate on smaller fish travelling downriver.
Because I'm after a pretty monstrous fish, I'm using monstrous tackle. I've got a huge forged steel hook on the end attached to a length of wire, and then I've got about 300 yards of very strong line. Okay. And this rod, you'd normally only see this on a boat out in the open ocean, the kind of thing you'd use to catch marlin, tuna, that kind of thing, but I'm using this stuff in fresh water. Something down there. Just grab the bait, bend the rod, and then let go. That's a fish on, that's a fish on. It's taking line. Taking line, taking. Feels pretty sizable. It'll be a little bit decisive and brutal now. Fish doesn't want to know though, doesn't want to know. Going down. Fish is coming up in the water, there it is. It's a shoal, it's a good size.
This fish is not the Piranha I was hoping for, but the Jau is a catfish, and some fishermen claim it can be just as dangerous as the larger Piranha.
But it's not finished. Doesn't like the side of the boat at all.
It has a reputation for being so strong on the end of a line that some people will tell you that it has dragged fishermen down into the depths.
This is about 80 pounds, 80, 90 pounds. It's a good sized fish. The hook hold looks good. We might even be able to land it on land.
After 20 minutes of hard struggle, I have the better of it.
Hey. And my goodness, feeling the strength of this thing. I wouldn't want that around my ankle or, you know, I wouldn't want to be head first down the mouth or something like that either. There we go. It looks a really sinister fish, that dark black colour, and it gets that from living down in the lightless zone, you know, deep in the rocky pools where it just blends in with the background. And particularly looking at it from here, just the shape of it, you know, it's a great big mouth, large head, very muscular midriff, and then just tapering off into this very chunky, powerful propulsion unit.
Just looking at these long whiskers that they use to probe their surroundings, it's pretty obvious where catfish get their name.
So this is a real, you know, this is a fish that's adapted for strong water, very strong fish. And if one of those was to grab you, there's not a great deal you could do about it. Time to release this animal.
So the scene of the crime may not have yielded the man-eating Piranha I was after, but this impressive Jau shows that there are some large catfish down there.
Oh, wanting to go already. Look at that, wanting to go already. That's good. That's good. There it goes. Ooh, quite a fish. This is it. This is the meeting of the waters. This is the black water of the Rio Negro coming down here, mixing with the white, muddy water of the Rio Solimões. And together they form the mighty Amazon. And this has to be probably the biggest river junction in the world. And everybody says that the big catfish, they love river junctions. So this place has to be a good bet for the mother of all catfish.
The point where these two rivers meet is more than a mile wide, over 200 feet deep in places. And for almost another 4 miles, these two massive waterways refuse to merge due to their different speeds, temperatures, and sediment contents. Giulio Cavalcanti has caught a 211-pound Piraiba at the meeting of the waters. But on another occasion, he nearly died here when the line wrapped around his body and started to pull him out of the boat. He had to cut himself free with this knife.
This is the very knife that saved Giulio's life on that occasion, and he's lending it to me.
Giulio credits his fishing success to a secret bait formula that he wraps around a hook, seals in a tin can, and leaves to bake in the sun for 3 days.
Oh, oh dear. I think most of the fish in this river are going to know that stuff is in there.
Look here.
Right, that just looks so... Oh. I've never seen anything quite like that.
Mas é muito boa. Peixe gosta demais.
Right, the fish like it. The fish like it. This is the guts, the byproducts of 8 chickens. So the entire intestines of one chicken is about that long, wound round, and you've got 8 entire intestinal tracts of chickens to make up that bait.
I head into the dark heart of the Amazon, up a distant tributary of the main river, to see if that tactic changes my luck. Maybe here I'll catch my man-eating Piraiba.
Head down, head down, head down, head down, head down. Fish on.
Could this be the river monster I'm after? But who'll win this battle? Me or the fish? I'm here in the Amazon, investigating a family of killer catfish.
It's taking line. It's a strong fish, this.
And I think I've hooked a Piraiba,
Come round, I've got to come round, I've got to come round. Got to come round.
the largest catfish species found here.
This is a good sized fish. I haven't seen it yet. Look at that! That is actually not the fish I want. That is a huge red-tailed catfish. I want the white, streamlined, shark-like Piraiba, but this thing, my goodness, this is a good size. This is a very good size. There we go. I mean, these things don't grow, don't get caught much bigger than this, so I'm going to weigh it. Can you read that? Right, this one is 80 pounds, this one. 80 pounds. It's very, very big for a red-tailed catfish. Not an easy fish to live.
Now that this fish is in the boat, it is pumping air, not water, over its gills, creating these strange sounds.
That is a big old catfish, and it's getting me in training for the Piraiba. The only thing is, too many more experiences like this one, and I just won't have any energy for a fish that's bigger than this. And I mean, this thing is just a huge head, huge bony head, tapering off into this leathery body, and a great big wide mouth there. Without any teeth as such, but it's got real good grasping pads.
Unlike a shark that can bite its prey in half, catfish have to swallow it whole. So if they are overly ambitious, they will choke. But this fish has a different problem. Inside its mouth is a parasitic bloodsucker.
Another one here. And that is absolutely engorged with blood. The blood of this poor catfish.
This tiny parasite, the kangaroo, and this vast predator are both from the mafia-like family of catfish.
This is pretty disgusting. I don't know if I can get hold of it because they're very slippery. Need more fingernails. Okay, look, there we go. So there we go, before and after. This one's fed. This one's still lean and hungry.
And as I'll find out, it's these small guys you have to watch out for, as this parasite is one of the cruelest catfish I'll meet.
There we go. Okay. That was nice to catch that. Not the fish I want, but, you know, that's a real monster in its own right.
Having heard this gruesome tale, I decide to see if I can track down any more details. I manage not only to find the victim, but I take him back to the actual scene of the assault on his manhood, to relive the events that have haunted him since that day.
Essa aqui tá meio alagada.
Ah, tô vendo. Sem motor? Okay, so it's 11 years ago. It's in this very spot. Silvio and some friends were in the water down there.
Ele me deu uma dose de bebida, eu subi, quando eu ia descendo, eu vontade de urinar, só que aí eu tava...
And after a little period of time, Silvio, felt the need to urinate, as happens. He knew the story about the kangaroo, so he actually sort of took himself partially out of the water.
Aí foi na hora que eu fui urinar, quando eu me espantei e o bicho estava entrando.
While he was relieving himself, suddenly he said, he just had a bit of a shock. And, the first thing he knew was that the fish was already, inside. Only, just the end of its tail was out.
Fora batendo, eu tentei agarrar, mas não deu.
Tried to grab hold of it, but it's a very smooth fish, a bit like a bar of soap. No good, no success pulling it out, so basically just ran up onto the bank to try and get some help.
Aqui aí não deu jeito, tive que ir lá para Manaus para ver se conseguia tirar.
The hospital facilities here aren't brilliant. Sylvia had to go to Manaus, which is quite a long journey away. It's several hours by road, and went to a hospital there, and basically people just didn't believe him. He was having in the situation of people just not believing that this was true. So was passed from one hospital to another, eventually came to one place where, thankfully the doctor did believe the story and actually, decided to do a proper investigation and see if he could help.
I decide to throw a net out to see if I can catch one of these critters.
Here we go. This is almost exactly what Silvio described. Something going in one direction and just not wanting to come into reverse at all. Look at that, I can actually feel its spines digging in when it does that. It was actually walking using its head. Now imagine that in an orifice. This fish is just leaking blood. It's not this fish's blood, it's something it's been feeding on. And it is just an absolute nightmare, a real sort of vampire fish, this thing.
A fish like this may have entered Silvio in search of a blood meal, but little did it know that its mistake would result in an unprecedented medical procedure lasting 2 hours.
Também não se conhece nada a respeito de ataque desse peixe e do que deve ser feito. Concorda?
The first thought was to, a bit like a hook that's got a barb on it, actually pulling it back the way it went in is not always a good idea. He was thinking of actually sort of coming in from the side, coming in from the perineum and actually trying to sort of pull the fish out head first. But he thought that because it had been such a long time in there, they would actually, and also the other fish were starting to rot a bit, maybe try and pull it out with the endoscope, out tail first the way that it went in. The tail of the fish was about here, about an inch in, and so the head of it would have been somewhere like here. And then what happened was that the pincers were gradually, manipulated out of the hole here. There we go. Grabbed hold of the fish just in front of the tail, and then using the camera, and then the whole apparatus just gradually, very delicately moved out.
Se aquela força é o suficiente para o peixe vir, sem cortar, sem partir, sem danificar.
Apparently it wasn't necessary to pull with a certain amount of force, but feeling that it's not doing any damage, unfortunately, it did come out eventually.
The fish was sent to the National Institute of Amazonian Research to be formally identified. It's not often you use a big fish to catch a small fish, but after just 2 hours, it's definitely worked.
Oh, what was that? What was that?
I don't know the scientific name for all the scavengers at this gruesome picnic. The locals call these musum, or snakefish.
And that is just disgusting. That is horrible, whatever it is. I hate... Oh, that is one of the grossest sensations I think I've ever had. I quite like fish, but I don't like this one. There's little sort of lighter bits of material in there, and I think what's actually happening, you know, the shock of these things being pulled out, they're actually regurgitating bits of flesh into the water. Hold on. There's actually something a bit different in there. If I can get it out. I don't really want to shove my hand in there. There. Just hold him. There we go. So this is the Candiru asu. This is the fish that bores holes in the body and then devours from the inside out. And it was this fish that they retrieved from those corpses in the morgue. This was a heavy fish when it went in. Look at the state of that. It is just, you know, it's just been hollowed out. And there's a hole here, and that is, it is just like a bullet hole, except nothing would have shot this fish. I mean, it is just a perfect round perforation in the skin. Nothing left inside. In fact, if I just rip it open a little bit.
The Candiru asu makes no distinction between human flesh and that of any other animal floating in the Amazon.
Just like a hollow case of skin with the remnants of the bone inside. This is almost exactly, what the autopsy report was in the morgue, except, in that case we were talking about a human being.
This water is obviously filled with flesh eaters, so I try and entice them to feed out of my hand.
I'm actually just on somebody's house here, and I'm just dangling this fish off the side, and these kangaroo are just attacking right on the surface, and they, I can see from here the way they are just literally drilling their way into that fish.
It's like a crocodile death roll, and no doubt the cause of the gunshot-like entry holes in the corpses.
I might try and lift them out, actually. I might just try and lift... Look at that. Hey, there's one there. And back in the water. Apparently these things will give you a bite just like a piranha. Look at that. That's very, very definite cut. And this is all the work of the kangaroo.
The Amazon River is a scavenger's paradise. It's like an acid bath here for corpses. And again, it's members of the catfish family that are one of the principal operators cleaning up the bodies. I've seen that here in the Amazon, small catfish have a frightening ability to attack us where it hurts most, and also to dispose of our bodies. But what about the large catfish? I started this quest with a tale of a man-eater. Can they really swallow something as big as themselves? But no sooner have I cast into the water when my fishing guide Flavio spots a truly graphic example of over-ambitious Amazon predation.
Loco.
Something that immediately reminds me of the man half swallowed by a fish.
We've just seen this Piranha floating down the river, quite a big one, still alive. We thought it was dead to start with. On investigation, it's got another one down its throat, and Flavio's just grabbing hold of the tail of it and pulling it out. Here we go. Look at that. Here's the tail of another fish.
Again for me.
So this fish almost choked to death on something just, too big to swallow, really. If we can get the other fish out, it might survive, but as it is... Good grief! Size of that. Look at that! Just look at... Good grief! Look at the size of the fish that other fish swallowed. So that's the meal, the one that's looking slightly worse for wear. And this is the greedy one that swallowed it, which might now recover.
This remarkable act of cannibalism is just as ambitious as the catfish that tried to swallow a man. Maybe in these murky waters, accidentally biting off more than you can chew is a common occurrence.
If I ate something that big in relation to me, it would be about the size of a small child or a medium-sized child, sort of an 8-year-old, you know, it's just, ooh, some greedy fish in this river. Listen. Something down there. Just grab the bait, bent the rod, and then let go. That is a fish on. I think it's coming towards me. What I don't want is the hook to come out like it has been doing. Feels strange. There are people who hook these fish and they're literally on for hours, and it gets dark and they give up and they cut the line.
I've come far too far to give up, so even though my muscles are aching, I carry on.
There's a very fast sort of pulsing to it. It's not a throb, 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 throb. This is a big fish. I can only bully to a certain extent. Strong, strong, strong fish, strong fish, strong fish. Ah!
After a struggle of nearly half an hour, I have the better of it.
There it is, that's the fish, there's the fish, there's the fish. Piranha, it's a piranha. Ah! Here we go. This is the one I wanted. This is the Piranha, the real monster of the Amazon. Fish is growling at me. Oh, big old mouth on there. Heavy, heavy fish. I can hardly hold this up. My arms are pretty shot anyway. No, I can feel the fish flexing. It's about to kick. Whoa. Oops. And this is the one that people say, when it gets big enough, it goes after people as well. Looks a bit like a shark, and it has a reputation to match. This is a big one, but they do go bigger. They do go bigger. This one, I don't know, possibly about 80 pounds. I mean, you know, this is a man-sized fish, but they go bigger than man-size. They go a size big enough to swallow a man. And a streamlined fish, smooth skin, no scales, but it's a very streamlined catfish. Most catfish are pretty slobby. They mope around on muddy bottoms, but this is a fish of fairly fast current, and I can just feel that muscle flexing. That's a lovely, lovely result. And am I tired? Am I tired? What I've got to do, though, is remember that the fish is as tired as I am. So, although I want to admire it out of the water, I've got to get it back and think of the fish's recovery as well. Oh. Oh. Okay. 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 Ah. Ah. Oh. And he's gone. What a river monster.
My journey begins in Brazil's Wild West. Pará State is cowboy country and outsiders rarely visit. But I'm on my way to meet an eyewitness to the cowboys' deaths. I'm travelling by boat along the Tocantins River so I can start fishing immediately and see what killers are in this area. I don't know yet what could be down there, so I have to be prepared for anything.
Just going to use a short sea fishing boat rod. This is gear that would hold a fish of 100 pounds, but it would also pick up something that might be just 1 or 2 pounds. So sort of compromise fishing gear for, you know, just general purpose fishing. I don't really know what I'm likely to encounter down there. This is actually a fish I bought down the market this morning. It's just a tasty, scaly fish. I'm just going to cut the tail off and use that, I think. It's a big river, this, and so what you're not doing is casting at random, because the fish won't be distributed at random. But what we've got here is quite turbulent, and it's also moving back on itself near the bank, so it's the kind of place where food coming down the river would settle. And that's going to cause the small fish to congregate and then right on up the food chain. One thing at the bottom.
It's not long before I get my first bite.
Oh, there you go. I think something's nibbling that. Yep. That's a piranha. It's a black piranha.
The black piranha is the largest of the piranha family, growing up to 1.5 feet long. A mouth full of razor-sharp teeth has given piranhas a fearsome reputation. And it's well earned. 2 years ago, I found a story about a young boy who was devoured by piranhas in front of his grandparents.
All they got in was bones.
It's unlikely that piranhas would have killed all 3 cowboys. But I know from experience that you've got to keep an open mind. Only eliminating a suspect after you've heard all the evidence, which is why I'm meeting a witness tomorrow. Before I track him down, I'll see what other potential suspects are here. It must be a predator's paradise down there. Within minutes, something else has grabbed my bait.
Ooh.
This feels much bigger than a black piranha.
Gosh, this is strong. This is strong. It's rising up in the water. There it is. Oh, it's a ray. It's a ray. The size of that.
This is the first spotted river ray I've ever caught. I've come across stingrays before. In Thailand, I've seen how they can seriously injure people. I want to take a closer look, but I'm not sure how to safely haul it into the boat.
My worry with this fish is getting too close to it. Oh,
Its tail has a venomous spike 5 inches long, which could whip round and stab me as I pull it in. Taking it to shore and pulling it onto the bank is the best option. On close inspection, I'm reminded that this can kill as well.
That spine there, very dangerous. It's just like a knife, 5 inches long. That would go in your flesh very easily, be very painful. And actually, if that's in the wrong part of your body, that could puncture an artery, that could be fatal. And these here, look at those, they don't look very nice either.
Like Piranha, this is an unlikely suspect for killing 3 people at the same time. But I'll need to hear the witness's account before I can take it off the list. All I can realistically do is put a bait in the water and hope an electric eel takes it before something else does.
The thing is, there's loads of predators in these waters, so I've got a bait on the bottom here, but there's lots of other species that could pick it up. There's no way really to single out the electric eel. I know I'm doing the right thing to catch one, but something else could beat it to the bait.
Because I don't want to get a nasty shock when I catch an electric eel, I'm taking some precautions. The nylon line I'm using won't conduct electricity, so I'll be safe while bringing it in. Then, once I get it to the boat, I have a thick pair of rubber boots and gloves, which means I'll be able to handle it without getting shocked. We've attracted a pod of Amazon River dolphins.
You might think that they're going to take a nice tasty dead fish, but actually they have this echolocation ability, which is a bit like X-ray vision, and they know that there's a hook there and they won't take it.
But there's something big down there that hasn't sensed the hook.
Good size fish, good size fish.
Is this the electric eel I've been looking for? Whatever it is, it's putting up a powerful fight.
I don't think this is an electric eel. It's too strong.
The back 4/5 of an electric eel's body is mostly used to produce electricity. It doesn't have the muscle to put up a struggle like this.
Oh yeah, see the bubbles coming up? That's a big red-tailed catfish, big red-tailed catfish.
Out of the water, it gulps in air, blowing it out through its gill flaps.
Got it. This is what they call a Piranha here, which is, well, in English we call it red-tailed catfish, very, very obvious reason. And, I mean, just a wonderful coloration it's got as well. Dark back, this very clear line between the dark and the light. This mottling of brown spots as well. Very strong fish, but it tends to not have the stamina. But, I mean, another thing to remark about this fish, it's about a third of the body is head, huge head. Very capacious mouth. It's got loads of small teeth, so that's really just for gripping. If it gets a fish that it can't totally inhale all at once, oops, with the muscular jaw and those teeth, you know, it's not going to get away. Look at this. This river is just full of predators. There's a big chunk of fin missing there.
I get the fish back in the water so it can recover before I let it go.
But this proves my point, what I was saying earlier on. You throw a bit of dead fish in this river and there's anything that could take it. You know, it could be an electric eel, that's what I was hoping for, but you know, it could just as likely be one of these red-tailed catfish.
That was a great catch, but unfortunately it's not the fish I'm after. Next to the lake is a small pond. Milton tells me it's full of a toothy fish called Triera, which he says is good for bait. He gives me a bamboo rod to catch them as the locals do.
Most fishing, you're being quite stealthy. You're creeping up, you're putting the bait in the water quietly. Triera are very inquisitive. They lie in shallow water, and if they hear a sound, rather than head in the opposite direction, they actually come and investigate. That's a Triera. Those teeth are probably almost as vicious as the piranhas. There's a bit gap-toothed, but those teeth are very sharp. That's a start towards getting some bait.
Unlike electric eels, Triera are proving incredibly easy to catch.
They're also very slippery. It's like a bar of soap with teeth. Oh!
Progress stops when my hook gets caught on an underwater branch. I'm not prepared for what I find at the end of my snagged line. I leap out of the water because I think I've just stumbled across one of these deadly creatures.
Here. Here.
But it's a case of mistaken identity.
It's actually not an electric eel, that is an eel.
This is a musum. It may look like a true eel, but it is in fact another elongated fish.
For a moment there, I was worried. I saw this long snake-like thing on the line, and I wasn't hanging around to have a closer look. I was out of the water. If this was an electric eel this size, that could be potentially fatal. Strange sort of admission to make. I'm actually glad that wasn't the fish that I was after.
My best option is to travel east, to where the rains haven't yet hit. I head for a village where I've heard a story about a young boy dying in the same way as Francisco, meaning there must be electric eels there. On arriving, I find out that a dog was shocked just an hour ago in a nearby pond. This could be my chance to see an electric eel in the wild.
Ah! There's one here.
I'm too late. People from the village have killed it. I mean, it's never nice to see an animal that's been killed. This one's got a machete cut halfway through its body. It's amazing that such a small volume of water could harbour a lethal electric eel 6 feet long. So the dog was shocked somewhere down the far end, and apparently it was sort of struggling, swimming up towards this end, and there was a lad here who was able to pull it out of the water. Then, went and got help, and basically, they wanted this thing out of here. Although it's a bit disturbing, you can understand why they want to do this. This animal can kill you, so best to take no chances and kill it before it kills you. Sorry, they're just saying there's another one in there, and in fact I thought I saw other ripples myself of a big animal. They want to make sure this water is empty of electric eels. So they start to drain the pond by hand. It's interesting, a lot of the places where I go where people live next to dangerous fish, they have a sort of an attitude of coexistence. They don't have the idea that they've got to go out and try and kill them all. This is an animal they are very afraid of, and they just don't want them here. If there's any chance of getting rid of them, they will do what they can to get rid of them. As the water level gets lower, the tension starts to rise. The eel is now in only a few inches of water, but it's still proving elusive. I'd been hearing that you can get very large animals living in small amounts of water, and this is a very small bit of water. So, although this time I was too late, I think this is the kind of place possibly where I'm going to find an eel for myself still alive. They're so desperate to get rid of it that they risk getting electrocuted themselves. Right, he thinks there's actually one down here. He got a bit of a shock poking the machete down into this hole here. When the electric eel finally reveals itself, it's killed without any hesitation. This time, it's only 4 foot long. It's no surprise that I've had such a hard time finding an electric eel. It's taken 20 people a couple of hours to find just one in here. After asking around, I get a promising lead about a tiny pool right in the middle of cattle pasture. It's more like a mud puddle. The last place I'd expect to find a river monster. Finally, after 10 days of searching, a giant electric eel is right in front of me. Does that look like just one of these branches, one of these roots? That is an electric eel. It's a big one. Now I've got to work up the nerve to catch it. I'm just making a bit of a trench. From my point of view, it'll be easier to handle if there's some kind of sort of notch that it's in, rather than it's being able to slip and slide all over the place. My normal capture method would be useless in water this shallow, so out goes the rod and in comes a lasso, fitting for cowboy country. Because electric eels don't rely on physical strength, pulling it out of the water shouldn't be that hard. But not getting shocked will be. So protective clothing is essential. We've got a plan. The plan is not so much to sort of go after the head with the noose, but to position that and then get it to go through the noose. Just taking a few deep breaths, because one slip and it could be very nasty indeed. Need to be so focused and so careful about this. An eel this size can deliver a shock of 650 volts. That's enough to stop my heart in seconds. First go, amazing, first go. Electric eels can keep on shocking out of water, but the rubber gloves we're wearing protect us from this.
Oh, look at the colours on this thing. These are wonderful. I've got to give it a clean. That is, it's doing a sort of, it looks like a muscle contraction, spasm almost. That's when it's actually shocking.
Because electric eels get most of their oxygen from breathing air, they can stay out of water for long periods of time.
That's 5'10.5". That's pretty much exactly the same as me.
This is exactly the same size as the eel that killed Francisco, the 21-year-old man who died in the tiny pond near Villanova. If I wasn't wearing these rubber gloves, I could be dead too. It's over 100 degrees and I don't want the fish to overheat, so time it went back in the water. The pond may be shallow at the moment, but the rains are not far behind me. The waters will soon rise, giving this eel the freedom to roam once again.
My search led me to this tiny drying out puddle. I mean, the water in there is barely 6 inches deep. It's the last place you'd expect to find a river monster, but that's where it was. There's more, there's more, there's more. There's not just this big one. There's, again, it looks like wood, but it started moving. We were watching it, and it looks like there's actually several, but smaller, right in with these roots here. I've just never seen anything like this before. It's like a tangle of bodies. I'm just trying to count the heads. The more I look, the more I see. I was thinking 10 or a dozen. I think there could be 20 down here.
This is an incredible discovery and answers the final question about how the cowboys died. I believe a group of electric eels like this was trapped in a pool over the dry season. When the rains came, the water levels got higher until the eels could all leave into the swelling waterways. It was in these waterways where the trio of unlucky cowboys came across them, after their startled horses threw them into the water. Each one of these eels could deliver a fatal shock. So a group of 20 would easily be capable of killing the cowboys. Immediately, I'm in business.
This is better fish, better fish, better fish. Oh, it's strong.
It's a freshwater stingray.
Right, it's not a huge one. It's a good size, though. This is a type of ray I haven't seen before.
All stingrays must be treated with caution, even this one which just has small spikes rather than a single long spine.
Still have to be a little bit careful because the venom actually cloaks the entire body, so even a scrape on some of these smaller points on the tail here wouldn't be a good idea, so I'm going to keep away from there. Hook out first. There we go. Hook out. Stingrays are related to sharks. They do have teeth, so they will crush something. No way is a stingray going to grab hold of a person and pull them under.
Common sense removes stingrays from my investigation. Catching a stingray species I've never seen before was a surprise. The lake is close by, but the journey won't be easy. Other villagers come to help, and I soon realize why. As we leave the river behind, we have to scale an almost vertical slope. I can't fish these hidden waters without a boat, as I'm told their banks are always flooded and crowded with vegetation.
It's gonna tip. That's good. That's good.
It's just a few hundred yards away. Could whatever took the honeymoon bride be hiding in its depths? And will the creatures that inspired José's fantastical beasts be ready to play ball? Dangerous monsters, whether real or imaginary, have kept most fishermen away from here. But not me. From the outset, it looks a perfect place for monsters to hide.
It's very quiet. Quite a sort of ominous feel to the place.
We paddle as silently as we can.
There's life in here. There's movement on the surface, betraying something going on underneath.
It doesn't take long for an old adversary to make its presence felt.
Okay. That was half a fish about a minute ago. Piranhas are always, well, they're nearly always a problem, but this level of activity is fairly exceptional. You know, they're really voracious here, just on the basis of 2 baits out.
I need to get past this insatiable pack of jaws if I'm to find what else is out there.
That was a matter of, I don't know, 30 seconds, something like that.
We try our luck in different areas. When I run out of bait, I try a couple of lures. Then I get to meet one of these proven man-eaters.
That's a very chunky red-belly piranha. So that's what's been eating all my bait. And even if you chuck in a flashy lure like that, it'll go for it.
As voracious as they are, in this case, piranhas are in the clear. There was no evidence of piranha bites on the victim's body. But they are coming between me and potential suspects.
I'm running out of ideas. I think all I can really do is save the last of my bait and try after dark. Piranhas might be less active then.
Following my meeting with Don Alvaro, I head to the area where the bride was killed. Although he doesn't know exactly where it happened, it's upriver from Leticia, near the small town of Puerto Nariño, where he worked as a nurse when the attack took place. Don Alvaro puts me in touch with a fisherman called Armando, who lives in the town and agrees to help me. Puerto Nariño is just a short journey upriver, but it's a world away from Leticia. It's cut off from the rest of the country and only accessible by river. We reach the community at sundown. Now I'll be searching river beaches just like those where the bride was dragged away. Rays hunt most actively during the night, so as darkness falls, Armando agrees to take me to a place well known for having lots of stingrays. To prove my theory, I first need to demonstrate that a stingray's spine could remain attached to the victim, turning its tail into a deadly, venomous tow rope. To do this, I have a plan, an experiment to see firsthand how the ray strikes. But first, I need to catch one. And it can't just be any ray. It needs to be armed with a strong spine on a long tail. Landing a killer ray without being stabbed is hard enough. But catching one in the dark on an isolated riverbank in the most dangerous country in South America is almost insane. This is potentially ray-like. It's almost as if there's still tension on the line. It stopped going out, but there's still tension, and there's maybe a slight sort of chewing sensation. But I'd expect it to move again in a bit. There we go. Yeah, it is a ray. It's definitely a ray. I recognise the dramatic markings. It's a deadly Matoro stingray. Matoros aren't giants, but this one's a perfect size for my experiment. Right, now it's one thing seeing that spine flailing around. I want to see what happens when that makes contact with something, with flesh. I've actually brought along a pig's leg. Very, very similar tissue to a human, so let's just see what happens to this. That went right in the whole length of the spine, and then it seemed to almost put its body weight behind it and really push it in. It went right up to the hilt of the spine. I'm surprised by this. I thought a strike would be more haphazard. The ray appears to line up on its target like a marksman, aiming above the point where the pressure is applied to its body before thrusting its spine deep into the tissue with every ounce of its power. As the tail retracts, more than 100 backward-facing barbs tear through flesh like a hunting knife. After the strike, the ray's instinct is to flee. I repeat the test, and this time, something remarkable happens. That hasn't come out. That is still attached. That is still attached. It's the proof I was looking for. A ray's spine can stay embedded in its victim. There's obviously a certain random element here. If it goes in a certain place, it's going to come out. If it goes in another place, it's going to come out. Once in a while, though, it's going to get stuck on something, stuck on a bit of tissue, and it's not going to come out. What I've just demonstrated adds weight to my theory that the bride could have been harpooned through the leg and dragged to her death. But it remains just a theory. I've only heard of the one incident. And there's still the question of stingray size. I don't think, though, that this could take an adult human into the water. I think you'd either shake it off or you'd crawl out of the water with this thing still attached. To prove beyond reasonable doubt that a stingray could have killed the honeymoon bride, I must catch a ray with a long spine that's big enough and powerful enough to drag a woman to her death. Something bigger than this. It's apparent that nobody targets rays, and when hooked accidentally, the fishermen either cut their line or cut off the ray's tail, whatever it takes to avoid holding it alive. Armando suggests I help him collect his fishing lines, as he too often hooks rays. Maybe this time there'll be a giant. He uses the multi-hook method, one long line with shorter baited lines coming off it at intervals. I've used this method before in the Congo, and I'm well aware of the dangers. Occasionally, people are dragged to their deaths by a large catfish on the end of the line. This is a fish, this is a fish, this is a fish. Yes. Oh, right, that's a stingray, that is a stingray. There's actually two spines on that. There's all these other points as well. I mean, those are going to be coated in venom. Well, there we go. I mean, this is not a monstrous stingray. I've caught much, much bigger. But this would definitely be capable of inflicting a very nasty injury. As we pull up the rest of the lines, we're only catching rays.
There's definitely something down here.
They're not the giants I'm after,
This looks different.
but they're so numerous that here they're beating everything else to the bait.
This is quite a good size.
Not only are there lots of different rays in these waters,
There's definitely a fish on it. It's definitely a fish, definitely a fish.
they all have one terrible thing in common: their weaponry.
It's got two spines here, and then it's got these rather wicked-looking smaller points on the base of the tail, but then you've got this long whip. That could inflict some serious damage.
Having finished pulling in Armando's lines, it's clear these waters are teeming with rays, some I've never seen before. But I found no giants capable of dragging a woman to her death.
Oh, that's a ray. That's a ray. That's going. That is going. That is going. It's running.
Finally, I'm hooked into what feels like a big ray. Now I just have to land it. The minutes pass and day turns into night.
Right, the thing with stingrays is you think they're snagged. The line is completely dead, and then it just moves again. Now, this is just pulling me. A stingray is not a fish that I like to handle very much. It's also sometimes a fish I don't like to hook because you get into a big one and it's a long time and it's very tiring.
I've been locked into giant rays in the past, but never on such a small boat or in the dark. I know this ray is bigger than any I've caught so far in Colombia, but once it's stuck to the riverbed, it's difficult to know what size I'm really dealing with. But now there's more strain on both me and the rod.
Got the butt of this rod in my stomach. It's really starting to hurt.
Having come so far, having fought so hard, a broken rod and a lost ray are my worst nightmare. But in this titanic struggle, something has to give.
Right, it's coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. Have I got line still? Yes, I've got line.
The rod snapped, but the line didn't.
It's now hand to hand.
Now I've got real problems.
This is going to be very interesting now.
I don't know how big this ray is, but in an instant, this struggle has become infinitely more dangerous.
I've got to be careful also that I don't get my hand caught in this line.
At any moment, a loop in my line could turn into a deadly noose.
The line's not going to break. I could go over the side.
I've no plans to be dragged to the bottom like Leo's brother or the honeymoon bride.
Right, slowly coming up, slowly coming up.
I see the end of my broken rod. The fish can't be far behind.
If this fish was attached to my leg, you know, if this had its barb caught in my foot, I would be able to do nothing at all. Oh, my knees are just trembling, trembling, trembling. There it is, there it is. That's big, that is very big. That is big.
This is a monstrous Amazon ray, easily strong enough to drag me overboard, or a woman to her death if it also has the necessary weaponry. To find that out, I need to get it to shore.
I need a sort of a beach, a gently sloping beach.
Unfortunately, here in the dark, all I've got is a slippery, steep bank. And this is no ordinary river monster.
Any normal fish in this situation, no problem at all, I just grab it. The thing about this fish is I try and grab it, it perceives that as even more of an insult, more of an attack. And somewhere down here, there is a very nasty spine, and I don't want that going anywhere near me. Here it is. I really thought I wasn't going to get this in. I was using a 150-pound main line, braid, 100-pound nylon, and then 150-pound Kevlar. And this thing, when it took, it just went. If I didn't have a drag on my reel, I would have been in the water.
on a rod and line, you get a real sense of the power. And this thing here, well, if those spines, and there's two of them there, if they went in your leg and came out, that would be very bad news. But if they didn't come out and remained attached, that would be even worse. If this thing decided to go and it decided to head off for the deep water and you're attached, there's nothing, absolutely nothing you could do about it. Having felt the raw power of this Colombian river monster, I now have no doubt about the fate of the honeymoon bride. A fish like this could easily have been responsible. I believe a ray this size with this weaponry was to blame, and this young woman didn't stand a chance. It must have struck in a heartbeat, then dragged her into the Amazon's shadowy depths. I've spent a lot of time in the Amazon, but Colombia's giant rays are new to me. And local scientists don't know how many there are in these waters or how big they grow. But one thing is certain, the honeymoon bride was not the first, nor will she be the last, to experience their deadly strike and awesome power. Caimans have tried to steal my catches at night before, but that was in shallow margins.
Hey! Don't get out of it! I'm going to try and just pull this up on the side. Oh, fuck! Shit!
Tonight, I'll use a fish to set a trap. I want to hook a fish and let it create a commotion on the surface of deep water to see if it triggers an attack by any caiman out there. It's a risky operation in a small boat, in deep water, in the dark, but it's my only option to find out if caimans should be on my suspect list.
Taking line.
But the fish I've hooked to bait a caiman is a lot more powerful than I expected.
This is a Piranha, but it's a small one. It's strange to talk of a fish as small when it puts a bend in the rod like that, but these grow much bigger than this. A couple of 100 pounds and up.
It's good to see my first large predator in these waters, but I need something smaller and much more manageable for my caiman test.
But interesting to see it.
Could Piranha be contenders for the attacks on the passengers? I know some have the potential to swallow a man whole. But these giants are at the top of the food pyramid and just aren't very numerous. At this stage, I don't think they could account for the scale of the carnage. It's time to start seriously exploring the water in and around the docks. Between dry season and flood, the water level here rises more than 20 feet, concealing staircases and gangways beneath the surface.
There's a lot of structure, so fish like this kind of place.
It gives them plenty of opportunities for cover, and the cargo handlers seem to think the same.
They actually put lines down themselves. There's one over there. It's going to be a bit snaggy though, but I'm going to put a bait down and see what turns up.
One of the dock workers beats me to it. But he gets more than he bargained for when a hidden horde of flesh-eaters rises up from the depths to feast on the catch he's gutting.
So these are kangaroo.
Not the tiny variety that swims up inside people, but the kangaroo asu, the ones that usually bore into dead flesh. I've investigated this fish before. What looked like bullet holes in a man's body were bore holes from this fish. They were eating his body from the inside out.
This water here is murky, it's not clear, and yet these fish can just find that in no time at all, just purely from the chemicals that are being released into the water, the blood and fragments of meat.
That speed of response surprises me. I thought these creatures sought out soft, decomposing bodies to tear into, but this fish was alive just minutes ago.
This is a really horrible fish to handle. It's very, very muscular and wriggly. There's almost no eyes at all on this. They don't find their way about by sight, it's purely by smell. And what they do is they cut a circular lump out.
If these creatures respond so quickly to fresh blood in the water, what would they have made of hundreds of passengers battered by untethered cargo and bleeding into the Amazon as they tried to swim to shore? The workers tell me that another flesh eater lives alongside the kangaroo in the murky waters around these docks. This one far outnumbers piranhas. It's time to set a trap.
So that's 3 bags of entrails, fairly bloody but quite fatty. That's going to give off quite a bit of odour. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stick it down the water here and see if anything comes along.
With nothing biting, I take a minute to check the trap.
Well, there we go. That's quite a disgusting haul.
My bloody, meaty bait has not disappointed me.
A lot of fish in here. Most of these are kangaroo. Those are the lighter coloured ones, cylindrical. And here and there you've got these characteristic circular holes where they've actually cut their way into the organs. There's sort of gobbets of flesh that they've regurgitated. The fact that I've lifted them out of the water has slightly sort of upset them, and they've just been vomiting lumps of flesh all over the place. It's not a particularly pleasant sight.
But the kangaroo asu are not alone. The other flesh eater I was hunting for is in there with them. A fish known as the water vulture, or piracatinga.
It's a catfish, no scales, quite small eyes, but what it has got, it's got these very long tentacles, which gives some kind of clue as to how it finds its way around, finds its food down there in the murky water. It might be small, but these are present in very large numbers, much more numerous than piranhas, for example.
I've been told the wreck was full of these gruesome flesh eaters when it was raised from the depths, and they were still feeding on the bodies.
The teeth are very small, but it's actually got a very strong bite for a fish this size, so it can easily tear off lumps of flesh. Although they normally feed on dead creatures, in a situation where there's maybe lots of bodies in the water, some of them might be alive but actually injured. I don't know if these are going to think twice necessarily before they actually get into a wound and start feeding.
Thousands of these voracious predators could easily account for all the unidentified bodies in the cemetery. But even as a combined force, they wouldn't have the muscle to make so many people disappear in such a short period of time. Could there have been another player that tipped the balance? To outrun the huge reach of thousands of fishing boats, I'm heading upstream and back in time to the mouth of a little-known tributary called the Padauiri, which snakes its way north towards Venezuela. These waters flow down past Óbidos, but at this extreme distance, they're rarely fished. For me, this will be completely uncharted territory. I'm staking everything on the chance that out here, I'll find the heavyweight catfish I'm after, and that I'll be able to prove it fits the profile of the super assassin that wiped out so many passengers so quickly on just one night. Within minutes, something's after my bait.
That's piranha.
But these bites feel unusually aggressive.
These piranhas have the feel of quite big piranhas. A couple of times they've taken out couple of foot of line.
I could move on, but my instinct tells me I should get a closer look at one of these bait thieves.
Yeah.
The strike feels like a piranha, but 10 times the size of the ones I've caught downstream.
Right, that's what's been eating my bait. That's a really big black piranha. Just the size of that head. Power of those jaws. Now, a piranha this size could do some serious damage.
It dwarfs the red bellies I've caught before. So could a swarm of these beasts be to blame?
Luckily, they're not normally found in the concentrations that you find the small red-belly piranhas. And the other thing is, actually, these are very rare in the main river, so I'm pretty certain that it wasn't involved in the events of that night. It's 17 long and then 19-inch girth.
And at more than 6.5 pounds, this is the largest piranha I've ever caught.
If my finger had been the way there, I'd be minus a finger.
If piranhas this size are at the smaller end of the food chain here, I'm seriously wondering what's at the other end of it. I'll have to keep fishing to find out what tipped the balance of survival against the passengers of the Sobral Santos. For days I followed the relentless coils of this serpentine river northwards towards the remote border with Venezuela.
I might see the fish in a second.
Finally, a flash of fin at the surface shows I'm dead on target.
This is the Piranha.
More commonly known as the Amazon red-tailed catfish. Its Guarani name comes from the word for fish, pir, and the word for parrot, arara, because the fish's fins look like the plumage of the scarlet macaw.
Out the water they grunt, but also they make this squeaking noise. It's a piece of bone clicking against another piece of bone. And I can only imagine that that is actually for communication underwater. Normally these things live in pretty low vis conditions, hence the feelers, but this gives them another channel of communication to operate on.
Next to its colour, the red-tail's most striking feature is its enormous head, around 1/3 of its total body length.
Wide mouth, very capacious mouth cavity, lots of little teeth that form these sort of sandpapery pads. So one here, one in the lower jaw. It's very good for gripping prey, anything they get hold of. As you can see my finger, it's sort of rasped my finger there.
But I still have too many unanswered questions to condemn the red-tail just yet. If these predators were involved, exactly what role did they play? I know they can grow to a size where they could easily engulf half a human leg, and I felt more than enough power to pull someone under. But what is it about the way they operate that could both account for the carnage and so many people wiped out so quickly, so near the shore? I haul in one redtail after another.
Oh!
But in order to bring the fish in, I have to take them on in an underwater battleground, booby-trapped with snags, that's repeatedly destroying my gear.
Look at that, it's just cut on some sharp bit of wood down there.
As the fish come in, I'm building up a picture of what's going on under the water. And it seems that they very much like proximity to snags. Well, not just proximity, they like being right in these fallen trees.
I could feel it grating on a branch down there. So that's basically cut on a branch.
But fishing these nightmarish snags has revealed the answer I'm after. Whenever a redtail takes the bait, it makes a dash for cover right into the heart of the snags.
I've had a couple of runs which, just as I've been getting ready to tighten, it stopped. And it looks like a fish that's maybe picked up the bait and dropped it. And this says something about the catfish behaviour, which is grabbing food and then running off with it.
When I go to reel in, I find it hasn't let go. It's just gone to ground.
It's a bit like a dog running for its basket with a bone.
But in certain circumstances, this behaviour can have lethal consequences.
Catfish clamped on something, swimming, if it is somebody's foot with toes on wiggling around and the fish grabs hold of it, it's going to drag the whole thing with it. The entire person is going to come with the catfish. Okay, it might eventually let go, but in that time, that could make the difference between staying above the surface and drowning.
And once the victim's under the water, the Amazon's sharp-toothed predators and scavengers can move in to finish the job. To be sure of my theory, I need to bring up a beast that's clearly capable of engulfing a limb. I have to attempt one more catch with what's left of my tackle. I might be about to get more than I bargained for.
It's a good sized fish. Just keep well clear of the line.
The beast isn't a heavyweight redtail, but a 100-pound plus Piranha. This goes to show that these pristine waters aren't patrolled by just one type of giant predatory catfish, but two, and both were found at Óbidos. But there's a problem. The hook has been taken deep inside the mouth, and I need to take it out.
I'm going to shove my hand in to get the hook out. It's going to give me a bite. It's bitten my arm.
But this extreme opportunity to feel the bite of a big catfish gives me the last piece of evidence I need. Piranha are in the same family as redtails, and they have virtually identical rasping pads in their mouths. These give them a grip that prevents slippery, struggling prey from escaping. A grip far superior to human hands. And a grip that I now know would have no problem holding struggling prey in the dark waters of Óbidos the night the boat went down.
30 years ago at Óbidos, they used to chum the water with remains from the fish processing plant.
I believe these exceptional conditions could have attracted the usually solitary Piranha in greater numbers than normal, and they were far from alone. There were also hordes of emboldened, oversized redtails.
And these were fish used to grabbing morsels in the water. A bloody foot or somebody's arm, quite conceivable. They'd grab that, thinking it's an edible morsel. And if you think how little it takes to make the difference between keeping your head above water and going under, it's very little. A fish the size of that, or even half the size of that, gets a good grip on part of you and decides to go. You're not going to have much chance.
But now there's news of a vicious attack by a large fish on a young boy. on Guyana's Essequibo River. It's just the lead I've been waiting for. I immediately make my way to Guyana. Lying just above the equator at the top of South America, Guyana is a wild, little-known place. Almost the entire country is jungle. I've been here once before, but Guyana's river system is so extensive, I've barely scratched the surface. It's the perfect place for a giant to hide. To discover exactly what happened to the young boy, I find a pilot willing to fly me into the heart of Guyana's rainforest, to the boy's village of Apoteri.
Down below me is an expanse of rainforest, so impenetrable that it hid one of the world's biggest waterfalls, Kaijia Falls, from outsiders until just 150 years ago.
If true giants are still to be found anywhere, it's deep in the unspoilt tropical water below me. But where exactly? As we approach the small Amerindian outpost of Apoteri, the jungle becomes blanketed by dense cloud.
I have to say I'm slightly bothered by all this cloud. It's pretty well unbroken, quite thick. It could mean it's raining down there. That could mean higher water levels. And that is going to make the fishing harder.
I learn that the young boy will arrive with his father later that day. I'm itching to get a line in the water, so I head off with a fisherman named Neville to find some bait. He leads me through the forest to a particular tree.
Okay, this one is the palm tree. We mostly call it common name cookreed tree. We make a lot of food of it. We make cookreed porridge, mix with starch porridge with manjoc. The fruit is very delicious for us. And actually we use the seeds. They're the seeds. We use the seeds for catching a bait. We cut it, and then you find a worm inside.
A worm?
The insect. Just lay inside and then form up a worm.
So that comes from an egg they put inside?
Yes, yeah, inside, and then they form up a worm. Then they spend about 4 to 5 months before they flies again become an insect.
So it's feeding on the
They're feeding on the nuts, all the time feeding on the nuts.
So do you want to open this one?
Ah, there's a hole.
Yeah. That's big. Yeah, it's trying to bite me, actually. So it's really sharp because they actually cut through this hard nut. I can imagine this being a really good bait, actually, because a grub like this, it's just a sack of amino acids and goodness. From a fish's point of view, they're going to love that. It's perfect bait to entice smaller fish. Ah, and the fish are coming already.
Yeah.
That is quite incredible. You could see the fat forming a sort of slick on the surface, and these fish just came from nowhere. Ah, first time.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that. We're on the way. This is moving up the food chain. So from palm grub to miniature fish, to slightly bigger fish, to top predator. It's just the essentials. It's just a hook, a little bit of wire, just to protect against piranha teeth, a bit of weight, and the line. And I'm going to whirl that around my head, lob it out. That's the one. And then you're feeling with your fingers on the line, which is what I like to do with the rod, actually. You get a lot of information if there is anything moving down there. Now, it's a waiting game. Oh, there's something. Fish. Something bigger than I bargained for has taken my bait. Oh, it might be off. Tip-toe. You're gonna get it in the mouth? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. That is just a beautiful, beautiful fish. More to the point, it's very encouraging. Incredible to think that a couple of hours ago, a palm nut on the floor in the forest has turned into this. Known locally as a basher, it has a huge mouth for its size, but they don't reach anywhere near the size of a man-eater. I don't want to speak too soon, but if things keep on this trajectory, then maybe I will get that monster that I came here for. On this trip, more than ever, my gear is critical. A giant laulau has eluded me for so long that I can't take any chances. I've got my best equipment from all over the world. High-tech braided line from Germany, hooks from Japan, and a custom-made rod from the US. And finally, a new and unusual addition to my fishing arsenal, the protective gift bestowed on me back in the village.
I pray over this garlic to save you all. There are many demons.
I carefully follow her instructions. On the wrists, feet, ankle, one in the pocket, top pocket. Now I'm ready. The next step is to locate the fish. The thing about big fish is they get big by minimizing their energy output. And where you've got a dip, a fish can lie there out of the current without expending any energy, and also any food that comes down is going to tumble into that space, like a conveyor belt bringing food to them. A very good rule when you're fishing, think like a fish. Where would you be if you were a fish? But laulau are known to migrate with the annual floods. With this unexpected high water, are they still here? 33 foot off here. Okay, just keep coming. I use a sonar device to help me decipher the structure of the riverbed and locate deep pools in which to place my bait. There's a definite hole here. Despite my early pessimism, there seems to be some interest in my bait. What is going on there? There's definitely something on the bait. I gently tighten the line to see what I can feel. Yeah, there's something going on there. I'm going to wind down and hit this. Yeah, here we go. What is it? Well, good to see a fish. Local name of this fish, apparently dawalo. I've seen them before. It's a catfish. You can't see any tentacles on it, but they are sort of recessed above the upper jaw, and they poke out just a little way occasionally. Okay, it's not what I'm after. In fact, the laulau would probably inhale this in one mouthful easily. Right, oops. Oh, it's nice to see them swim off like that. I fish on well into the evening, but with absolutely no interest in my bait. It's absolutely nothing. It's pretty depressing. Neville takes me to a sandbar that he suspects has some deep water alongside. I just really like this spot here. It's just perfect predator ambush territory. This has to give us a better chance than everywhere else. I'm going to camp on a sandbar here and actually keep a couple of baits out overnight. Sleep next to the rods. Every day I've been up at dawn and fishing after dusk. Now, to maximize my chances, I'm going to keep a line in the water through the night. If I fall asleep, I might miss a take, so I'll need some high-tech gear to keep me on guard. I'm pretty well attuned to these things. Basically what happens, the line is passing over a roller there, and if the line moves at all, it actually sends to this receiver here, and this buzzes. It also vibrates. I've got some quite big baits on. If anything goes, it ought to be something quite interesting. So it's not just a waiting game, it's time.
Yeah. Oh.
Not really quite sure what time of the morning it is now, but it's been very, very quiet tonight. Nothing really doing, though, until this. Apparently they call this a blinker locally. Pretty as this fish is, I'm after something that could actually swallow this thing easily and possibly even swallow a person. The thing I'm after is more predatory, more monstrous than this by a long way. When it comes to river monsters, it's an incredibly elite few that have the potential to devour a person. But can a monster lau lau really be capable of swallowing a person whole? Never have I wanted to catch one more. But as I try to drift off, I hear something moving outside my tent and realize I'm not alone. That was a noise. Sort of crashing around noise. Yeah, it's quiet now, but I think something was moving around out there. As the sun rises, whatever it was has long gone. But I'm intrigued and concerned enough that I decide to rig camera traps at the edge of camp. I place 3 at different angles, looking out over the water's edge. Leaving the traps positioned and primed, Neville and I set out onto the water. At daybreak, we head back to camp. My thoughts turn to the camera traps that I've left near my hammock to investigate the noises that have been waking me at night. This is definitely 5. There's definitely been some action here. Let's just see what it all is. What on earth is that? Oh, good grief. And there was a flash of open mouth and teeth. I mean, that's a caiman. This is a point of view of having your face bitten by one of these things. Quite disturbing. It's got something in its mouth. Just a few bites, that's it, it's gone. Oh, what's going on there? There's other eyes in the background. What a, gosh! That's incredible. No wonder I've been hearing noises. My hammock is just a little way in that direction. Right, okay. Maybe I shouldn't hang around here too long. The black caiman's intrusion into camp is a sobering reminder of the dangers in this wild place. I must keep my eyes on the prize, a man-sized lau lau. After resting up into late afternoon, I head back to the rock where I lost the fish just a few days ago. The water has definitely dropped. Oh, there's something. Right, deceptive amount of line out here. That's a good sign. First cast. Fish has woken up. All right, there's the leader in sight. That's red-tailed catfish. Well, I'm hoping that's not just a one-off. That's almost like the switch has been thrown. Incredible to get a take on the first cast. It's just blowing air out the gills. And that clicking noise, the squeak, is the pectoral fin. It's a small red-tailed catfish, but it's activity. There's finally some activity here. Not a huge fish, but could be quite a good sign. A lifetime of observing and refining my skills has brought me to this place. The trap is set. I'm bringing about 150 yards of line here. It's a truly bizarre-looking fish, known as a diwala. It's just so quiet at the moment. I'd actually rather not be catching, to be honest. I want the bait to sit there until a lau comes along. What it does mean, though, is I've got to get the bait back out there again, get the boat out. Oh! I'm just going to take up slack on here. I think I'm going to put that down until something decisive happens. That's more serious. This time, I have no doubt about what's on my line. That's gone solid. Harness around my waist. Can you get that away, please? Neville! That light on my face is a pain in the arse, I'm sorry. Whoa! That's a lau. It's a lau. This gear is designed for the heaviest ocean giants. But is it strong enough? But this fight is not over yet.
The fish is nowhere near tied yet. Neville! We want the rope, please. There it is. Just be very careful, Neville. The fish could kick off, even though it's like this. Can someone help me around the waist?
It's an unbelievably muscular animal, built for speed and power.
What I might try and do is get that hook out first.
And there's its signature weapon, that enormous mouth.
Ow! It's got a bit of a bite. I want to bring it somewhere where it can't, if it kicks, it's not sloping down.
I have to work quickly to remove the hook.
Good.
And measure this enormous beast. I don't want it to be out of the water any longer than absolutely necessary.
In inches. And girth in front of the dorsal fin is 50.
I'm having to use scales designed for lifting concrete blocks.
Sounds okay. Lift, lift, lift. 258, 256, 257, 254.6. I think, guys, you can put it down. So that's a 250-pound fish.
My whole life, I've longed for this moment.
Only just starting to be able to think straight. This is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. This I'm going to remember.
size of this fish and just the drama of getting it in. What a beast this is. Lift! Well, I came here with a very simple question I wanted to answer. Can these fish grow big enough to be potentially dangerous to humans? Can they even engulf a small human? And I'd heard stories. President Roosevelt's account inspired me to look for one. He never actually saw one, but here it is. This moment is actually very short for us. I think it's got to go back in, and we'll let it swim back down into the depths. Whew. I really actually wanted to sit and just look at it and look at it and look at it, but you can't. I think there's every chance that fish will never be seen by anybody again. There's bigger ones down there, believe it or not, there are bigger ones down there. But maybe that's big enough for me for now. If ever something was worth waiting for, it's this. The river monster of a lifetime. And feared is suddenly there, right in front of me.
Look at the size of this!
I've stumbled into a